What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Big C, this one's for you, Caleb. Big C Green. So Big C is actually a 5%er. He was with the team when I was with the team. We are still friends. Actually, I'm still friends with all the 5%ers. There's actually none of them are not friends, because once you're a 5%er, you're always a 5%er. Just because you don't work for 5% nutrition anymore doesn't mean you cease to become or cease to be a 5%er. So Big C sent me a message the other day, and he was just curious. He wanted to know if I had any insight on what was going on. A friend of his, and the friend of his actually posted this on his Instagram, and it's now gone. So I'm going to have to kind of ad-lib this a little bit and paraphrase. But basically, his friend actually wanted to do Classic Physique. Now, if you guys don't know, Classic Physique includes a height and weight class together. Okay, so it'll go by a certain height, and you can only weigh a certain amount in that height class. And if you weigh over that certain amount, you either have to drop down to fit inside that height class to make the height and weight, or switch to bodybuilding. Those are your two options, okay? And a friend of his went in and he got heighted in, I believe it was for Team Universe, I think, and said basically they shorted him. He said, like, wow, they said I was like a half an inch shorter than I really am. He's like, I'm actually a half an inch taller. He goes, and I couldn't drop the weight because I couldn't fit into the weight class. I couldn't make that cut. He's like, so I guess bodybuilding it is. Now I'm paraphrasing, right? So Caleb hit me up and was like, hey man, because he knows I'm an NPC judge, he wanted to know if I had any insight. He said, why don't they just, like, when you get your NPC card, if you're doing classic or regular physique, why don't they just height you in and then put it on the card? So they just look at the card and they know how tall you are, and they don't have to, then there won't be the discrepancies from place to place to place how people are hiding people in. And I thought that was a good question, right? So I was like, well, I'm glad that he asked me, because I do have some insight. Well, first of all, a lot of people get their NPC cards online, not the day of the show. So basically you fill it out online. There's nobody there to height you in. Which means that if I want to say I'm 5'9", 5'10", 5'8", whatever, I could say whatever the fuck I want, and they'll just put it on the card. Well, how is that fair? You know what I mean? Like, anybody could say anything. I could say I'm fucking 2 inches short, or an inch shorter than I really am, go in a class to where, or I say that I'm an inch taller, because if you're shorter, you look bigger. Anyways, you could manipulate it to where you're the biggest one in the class based on your height, in adjusting that height and lying about it. So you can't do that. So then what happens is, I wanted to explain to him very specifically, because it actually happened to me. So as big as I wasn't my biggest, when I stepped on the scale at my doctor's office, he heighted me in at 5'10". If you go back to videos when I first began, I wasn't doing physique, I was doing bodybuilding, and you'll hear me say I'm 5'10". My license actually said 5'10" before on it. They heighted me in for the license. 5'10". That's what I was. My first physique show that I did, I got heighted in, and they said I was 5'8 3/4". And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't know. So it's 5'9". That was 5'9", like a tenth or whatever it was. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, that can't be, right? So I got heighted in a couple other places. It was varied a little bit from place to place. Then I get to Universe, which used to be called Team Universe, which is 2016, which I really sucked down for that show. And that one I was 5'8 3/4". If you go back to my videos throughout the years, you can find me saying these heights. And I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. I was like, what the hell? I actually looked at the girl, and it was Jennifer Strobo, IFE for Jennifer Strobo, who's worked all these different shows and stuff. She knows how to height somebody in. I mean, I do the height checks for the NPC at local shows and regional shows here. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do it. I mean, stand them in the thing, make sure they stand up straight, whatever. So I really questioned what the hell was going on until I started doing my own research. And again, I had to do my research on my own, and after I figured it out, people are like, yeah, you didn't know that? And I'm like, no, I didn't fucking know that. How would I know that, right? As you diet down, the leaner you get, this is 100% true, the padding in your feet, which is fat, starts to come off. The padding on top of your head, which is fat, starts to come off. And you actually technically shrink as that fat comes down. Now, the bigger a person is in the off season, fatter a person is in the off season, when they trim down, they're actually going to shrink quite a bit. If you stay super lean all the time, your height's not really going to change, because you're not getting that padding on your feet and your head like somebody that really bulks up. Now, anybody that's really dieted down for a show before knows that your feet hurt a lot more all the time from just standing, walking, whatever. Your ass hurts even if you're sitting in like a cushioned chair. Like, it always hurts because there's no fat left on it. Well, let's say no fat, because people are going to freak out, but your body fat's very low, and that cushioning is not there to cushion your body when you're standing and sitting like that. So now what you have is the person who thought they filled out their application says, oh, I'm 5'10", they get into their 5'9", like, well, how could this be? Well, they know themselves as being 5'10" before they're dieted down. They never actually heighted themselves in when they were dieted down. And this is an even more wacky thing, but it's the truth. when you go from show to show, so for instance, I went from 5'10 down to 5'9. Now at 5'10, I was over 270 pounds. That is a big guy that my height, which has changed throughout the years. But as I went from show to show, I'd be like 5'9 1/4, 5'8 3/4. The lower I got in body weight, the lower my height went. And I was like, this is fucking insane. Like, how can this even be? Like, after I did the research, I understood what was going on. Now, I, of course, didn't do Classic Physique. I did Physique, which that's the way the height system works. Now, I was actually with Regan Grimes last year, which was 2018, at the Olympia when he was doing Classic. And he heighted in, and he said, okay, I got to be, and he said, I'm this height, so I have to be this height between whatever. He sucked down to get to the Olympia. He gets over there, and the height was different. It was like, fuck, they're like, you're shorter, which means you have to come down and weight more. And he was already shredded. So he was like, how the fuck is this possible? It was the same shit. As the padding on his feet starts to go down in his head, because he gets very big in the off season, where he comes down from like 270, 280 or whatever, down to like 220 or whatever it was for his height class. That's a big fluctuation. He did drop the weight, and he went on stage. Now, in the pros, he wouldn't have the option to going from Classic into jumping into the Open in the Olympia. I don't think. I'm not sure how that would work. I don't know if they can cross over the day of the show. I think if you compete in bodybuilding, I have to check the rule books. You'd have to compete, and you win a show in bodybuilding, you'd have to compete at the Olympia in bodybuilding. You couldn't all of a sudden switch classes. Maybe you can, maybe they do it. I don't know. We'd have to check into it, but it's not something that usually happens. And I don't think I've ever seen it happen once before, where somebody jumped from bikini to figure to go to the Olympia. If they did figure all year, and they did figure at the Olympia. If they did bikini, because there was people switching back and forth throughout the year doing bikini and figure. I've seen shows where a bikini girl does the figure class also. She's like right on the cusp of both, and she does both to see where she fits better, and that's where she's going to compete from then on. I've seen that. So that was it. If Regan didn't make weight, he wasn't doing the Olympia. Everything he did, all the prep, everything was going to be for nothing. So he made weight. That is what I recommend doing, okay? What Caleb's friend actually did was, he said, well, fuck it, I'm going to go in bodybuilding. Because I can't drop the weight, or I don't want to. It's more, you don't want to drop the weight. There has never been a single fucking competitor I have ever seen in my entire life in 30 years that couldn't drop an extra 5 to 6 or 7 pounds to fit in a weight class. Not a single fucking one. Everybody. I watched Jay Cutler drop 15 pounds off his frame when he was fucking peeled. It looked like there was nothing. I thought he was going to have to shave his head, like fucking spit in a cup, pull his eyelashes out, do whatever he could, pull his fingernails, toenails out, because he wasn't going to drop that fucking weight, and he did. Like, people don't even understand. They get in their head, they think like, I'm so fucking shredded, I'm so depleted, I'm so this, I'm so that. It's like, but you can still make that weight class. I'm telling you right now, you still have enough body fat on you, you still have enough water. If you fucked with diuretics, that's a whole different discussion. But bottom line is, I've seen people make that weight plenty of fucking times. But the problem, if you don't do what I'm saying right now, what Caleb's friend did was jump into bodybuilding. Well, here's the thing. There's no height class in bodybuilding. So if you go from Classic to regular bodybuilding, you're now entering a class where the guys could be 3 inches shorter than you in the same fucking weight, because it goes by weight. That 3-inch shorter guy is going to look fucking 30 pounds heavier than you if he's the same weight. Some guys may be 10 pounds less than you, look 20 pounds bigger because of height. So like, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot to be compared next to somebody that you don't compare with by saying, oh, I don't want to drop that last little bit of weight. Listen, I know you're fucking hungry. I know you're depleted. I know you're fucking tired. But all that work you just did, you don't think that in the next half an hour, you could scrape off 2 to 3 fucking pounds, okay? Get in the weight class that you wanted to be in. If you wanted to put, you're going to be even tighter if you pull off that 2 to 3 pounds. So I would just fucking stay down there. But if you really want to fucking go crazy, drink a little bit of water to feel a little bit better, to fucking put the weight back on. You'll still be the same condition you were. You'll go where you belonged and go where you planned on being, and where you fit the best and will compare to the other guys the best. If you jump into that bodybuilding class, you say, fuck it, you know what? Oh, I don't have to make weight, so I can fill out a little bit. You have a little more carbs, a little more water. Your condition is not as tight. You walk in there. Most of these guys in bodybuilding, to make that weight class, they're not going up. They're coming down, which means those motherfuckers have sucked down so much to be the same weight you are when you're not really sucked down, that they fit in that weight class. They've lost that extra 3 pounds to get in that fucking bodybuilding weight class. You know what happens after that? They start fucking carbing up. So although when they weighed in, they were your weight, those fuckers get on stage 10, 12, 15, I've seen 20 pounds heavier the next day after weigh-ins, and just as fucking dry because they carved back up. Their muscle mass is so much on their frame that they haven't eaten for days or drank for sometimes up to 2 days to get down to that weight. And as soon as they add it back in, they blow the fuck up. So now you really don't belong in that class. Now you're going against guys that are a whole nother level that have done so much more work than you have, not just to build the muscle in those smaller frames, but they've sucked down so much farther than you have to come back up that you're in waters that you shouldn't be in. You know what I mean? That weight class that you were originally supposed to be in the Classic Physique is where you plan on going. And if you had dropped that 3 or 4 pounds and stayed there, when they lined you up with everybody else, you look like you belong. Now, you look like one of these things is not like the other. One of these things does not belong. Yeah, that's you now. See what I'm saying? And that's a shitty fucking feeling to go on stage and have worked all that fucking time and get your doors blown off by guys that fucking are so much better because it's not your class. Yes, you have the option to switch, but it's not your class. Like, you would never see a guy leave Classic Physique and jump into the bodybuilding category at the Olympia and whoop everyone's ass. It just doesn't happen because it's two different things. So hopefully this explains to you guys that you are going to change not just weight but height-wise as you go from show to show. But my advice, stay as lean as you can in the off-season. The closer you stay to your contest weight, the less that height is going to affect you if you're in Classic Physique and Physique. The bigger you get, the less you actually know what the fuck is going on. So let's say you're, used to do what I did, which was very stupid, going up to 270, 260, 270 in the off-season, right? You're fat, you're bloated, you look like a bar of soap. You're fucking smooth, you're white, you're fucking fat, you're round, you're square. And then you go, I'm fucking 270, I'm going to be like 225 on stage. You don't know what the fuck is actually underneath there. You have no idea how much muscle mass is underneath until you start cutting and you wind up at 198 on stage again. It's the same thing with your height. If you bulk up too high, you don't actually know what you're going to height in at. It could be, I came down about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches by the time I got it totally shredded. Like, I saw that same phenomenon with my dad. A lot of people say the older you get, like, your bones start to, your posture, your bones start to shrink and shrivel up or whatever. But I remember my dad being 6'3", he was about 6'1", but right before he died, it was the last time I saw him. And he was not just shrinking in height because he was getting older, he was getting thinner. My dad was in the 260, 270 range when he was younger. When I saw him, he was about 215, 220. Like, as he was getting smaller, he was coming down in height too. So, I've seen the phenomenon a couple times now that I look back and kind of piece things together, outside of bodybuilding. But, of course, when we get older, we shrink too. That's just how it is. But hopefully this video squares up some stuff for you guys that are into Classic Physique and, think, I always have that out. I can jump into bodybuilding. Listen, that's not what you planned. That's not a backup plan. It's a whole different animal, a whole different ball game. And if you just really think about it for a couple seconds, man, it's worth putting in whatever work you got to put in to drop that last little bit of weight to get down to that Classic Physique class. But another big problem is when you're depleted, you're not thinking straight. When you're depleted, you're like, who the fuck do they think they are? They didn't fucking hype me in right. I don't fucking weigh this. That fucking scale is wrong. It's everybody else's fault, right? Rather than being rational, like when you have some food in you. Like if you had a meal and you'd be like, okay, what are my options? You can either do this or this. Okay, well, what do you think I should do? Well, here's where you belong. You know what I mean? Like when you're rational, you do that. I've actually done that at shows before. When you're depleted, you don't. You get fired up and you just want to get the fucking day over with so you can have your fucking meal and be done with it. And at that point, you're just like, fuck it, I'm just going to jump into bodybuilding. I'm not fucking dropping weight. Fuck these guys. I've already done too much. Like, you have to be thinking straight, or at least ask somebody if you don't think you're thinking straight. If you think you're that depleted, ask somebody. That'll make a huge bit of difference. And remember, just go where you belong. And don't try to do this jumping around thing based on what you think is going to happen. Because what I'm telling you right now, I've seen over and over again, and I am an NPC judge. I do judge NPC shows in the state of Maryland, Virginia, DC, and I've seen many times people make the wrong decision, and they're like, "What was I thinking?" And as a judge, well, all we can say is, "Hey, you know what? Like now you know. You know what I mean? You know what to do next time if this situation arises. Use it as a learning experience, and then move forward with it." So that you can make the better judgment next, or make a better choice next time and have better judgment. So, hope this helped you guys a lot. And Big C, good talking to you. Thank you for the messages, man. And if you need anything, you know where to find me. BioStringTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below. But don't fight. BioString.com is a blog. It's the Big C bicep. The little Jerry Big C. And we are out.